Chaos brutes. Catch them! Get them all! Mine has valid!
Children of Wolf-One!
Fortune favors the infamous. Not self will die. Wild hunt begins!
Good evening, my fellow Nurglings and Fecundites, and welcome to Grandpapa Nurgle's cave. So, I wanted to take today to explain all the joys of being a lover of Nurgle. Blessed be the putrid, blessed be the foul. All of Nurgle's followers are his children, and they shall covet the world and beat all others in his decadent embrace.
Welcome back, Strat fans. It's me, Colonel Strat, the Strategy Extraordinaire, and today we're going to be looking at the big old greasy plague-loving boys of Nurgle. So Nurgle, personally, for me, has a special place in my heart because it is my favorite Chaos God. Even though he's so grotesque looking, I just love him, and I love their playstyle. Warhammer 3 has not been kind to Nurgle so far, and which leaves me kind of bummed for the future. But I do have high hopes, and I'm hoping, praying that they'll get the love they deserve. Because ever since I learned of Warhammer and the Chaos Gods and all that, Nurgle's always been my favorite. So we're going to be exploring with Festus. Well, with Kugath here. Sorry, Festus is my bae from the Warriors of Chaos. I love him a lot, but he is technically not a Nurgle-based faction. So Kugath here, he's pretty good. Nurgle, like all the other Chaos Gods, only has one. I'm starting with Nurgle because he's my favorite. I'm going to go through all four of the Chaos Gods, and then I'm going to do the final one, the one that has altogether the Demon Prince at the end. So let's get right into the campaign to explain his mechanics.
We shall shower our foes in plague, pox, violence, and sickness. Then revel in the rot.
Yes, we shall, Kugath, because we love feeling all that rot all over us. Ugh. Anyway, so the Poxmakers of Nurgle is the faction. It is the faction of Nurgle right now, so it's the only thing that Nurgle has. Trust me, I'm hoping that there's going to be more factions. I'm counting on it, actually, because it kind of seems lame to have the Chaos God dedicated God factions only having one faction. Well, Mono God races only have one faction. So, Nurgle has a very unique playstyle for the campaign. They use this thing called infections here, and you get these from buildings, events. You incubate captives, you spread plagues, looting, sacking, stuff like that. And you can also create plagues as well. So if I click Kugath here, I can hit my plague cauldron. Goes to this lovely screen right here. I know, there he is, cooking up his plagues. And this is one thing I love about it, because there's these different effects you get, and you unlock these effects by using one of these base plagues so many times, and you can add these effects on, and then you can get the recipes, which, like Nurgle's Rot, which is very, very powerful. Gives you a lot of physical resist. The Grim Shakes, the Crumbling Ague, Black Plague, like the Black Plague, dude, insane. And then Green Pox. Green Pox is really good for growth. Like, Nurgle is the king of growth. Nurgle can get up to a tier 5 faster than anybody else. I mean, you would think that, but in practice, they're not as good with growth, but they really should be. And I feel like once CA and well, and GW both work on this and are able to flesh the Nurgle race out more, they'll be able to, you know, be what they should be. The tanky, growing little bulbs of fun that they are. Alrighty, so you just pick one of these and you can infect them. It costs some infections to do it, and then you infect it, and then all this army has to do is exist or like contact another army or settlement, and then it'll just spread. And every time it spreads, you get more infections, leading to more plagues, leading to more fun. So now, like all Chaos Monogod factions, they all have access to unholy manifestations. This is something that sets them apart from the Warriors of Chaos, or any other type of Chaos Undivided faction. They're able to use, the Monogod faction are able to use these manifestations of their god. So Nurgle has these. Pestilent Growth, which increases casualty punishment by 20%, but you can't move. So each one of these unholy manifestations is like a dual-sided card. There's one big bonus you get, but there's a crippling flaw to it as well. And then once you get enough corruption, you can do plague spreading, the Blessing of Nurgle, which increases your plague spreading, but again, campaign movement is disabled for whatever army uses it. And then you get exponential growth, which has a 3 turns duration, and you're able to get 200 growth from that, as well as recruitment cost reduction. And then finally you have Nurgle's Visitation, which gives you a random plague will be given to every settlement and army in this province upon completion, but campaign movement is disabled during the completion time. So again, you get, Nurgle is very slow. So all of his negatives are due to him not being able to move. But he gets a lot of plagues, he gets a lot of growth, he gets a lot of casualty punishment. So he's very tanky. And that's what his unholy manifestations really, really reflect on. So yeah, you can call those anytime, and you just need more Nurgle corruption around everywhere to be able to get this to pop. Now if we go into Nurgle's technology tree, they have, I mean, it's an okay tech tree to start with. It could use some love, especially because the fact that you only need to complete 4, while it's really good on paper, it means that all of these ones are kind of, you just want to get through them to get to the better ones. And yeah, they do have some really good ones, especially if you're fighting Tzeentch, which is, Nurgle's rival. But other than that, they don't really get that much of buffs. It's just very, like, little corruption buffs or armor buffs. Maybe some cooldown reductions on spells. Maybe some bonus for infantry. Maybe a little bit of bound spells. Other than that, they don't really get much in the way of buffs to units in the tech trees, which leaves it kind of lacking. And plus, the tech tree, with it being just unlock 4, move to the next tier, it's kind of bland, in my opinion. And I really am looking for that rework for Nurgle and for all the other Chaos Gods, because they're pretty much all the same in this regard. So like I said, usually when I start, I'll either do let's see, one that does growth, or one that armors up the Nurglings, which is Kugath's preferred, it's his preferred infantry unit. So I'll probably do like Favorite Children, or Spore Diffusion, because that increases growth and Nurgle corruption, which in turn increases our unholy manifestations. As far as diplomacy, every other faction that we're with is pretty much angry at us and will always be angry at us. The only factions we could like would be like Khorne factions, or other Nurgle factions, or other Chaos factions. Chaos isn't a one-way street for diplomacy anymore, which is always nice for Nurgle, because Nurgle doesn't want to fight all the enemies at once, but, still, in Kugath's position specifically, he doesn't really have too many allies to speak with. But on the other hand, he's also on an island chain, and you could very much just settle up on this island and be fine for many, many turns. I usually find Kugath down here just squatting whenever I'm playing another faction up here. So it's, you know, and it's for a reason, because, you know, he's not the most aggressive. Now, if we get into their buildings, Nurgle has a very unique building chain. So they have their regular, you know, monument buildings and their base buildings, but every other building has these cycles. So, like, whatever building you build, over turns, they will cycle and grant you access to units to recruit for free. Well, I don't think it's for free, but it's, you know, they give you access to units to recruit to the pool. And that's very interesting, but at the same time, I could see how it could be infuriating, because of the, you never know what you're going to get, you know? I mean, they added in the Chaos Warriors of Nurgle into this, but I don't think they added the Chosen, which means that you're not going to get the really big old humans, big old buffed out Chaos humans, but you do have the buffed out Chaos Demons, like the Plague Bearers. But yeah, they're cycled buildings. They're not always going to be the same tier. They'll just cycle through the tiers as more growth comes in the province, which means you really want to emphasize your growth so that you can produce more. You can get more in the pool. So we'll show you a quick what he does with these. You can do incubate captives, favor, army replenishment. I usually do either the incubator or army replenishment. Alright. And Kugath's, his whole tech tree, his tree is pretty much, you know, geared towards Nurglings, because, like, the Nurgling Tide summons a unit of infested Nurglings, which will self-destruct. Plague Shield, plus 5 melee defense for Nurglings. And then there's Rotting Ways, which increases his Nurgle corruption. Giggling Grenades, more ammunition for his chucking Nurglings, because he literally just chucks a Nurgling off of his throne there, and it explodes. And then there's Regeneration for Nurglings, reduces their cost. And then there's Plague Father's Oration, which is really good. It's a really good buffing spell that he gets. Lord of Stench gives Slime Trail for great unclean clean ones, which is pretty good. And he's got his basic, you know, Nurgle, you know, Lore of Nurgle spell tree, and he's got his basic red line, and then at the end of his basic melee line, he gets Fetid Stench, and then he gets Pestilent Decay, which is, you know, it causes damage to combatants, which makes him pretty good to deal with. And also he has a pretty high heal, and due to the Nurgle spell Fleshy Abundance, he's able to heal a whole lot. He's a really beefy character himself. I mean, just look at those stats. But he can't pull every victory by himself. And Nurgle does suffer from the low speed and the low armor, because CA felt it better to increase their unit health and not increase their armor. I felt like Nurgle should have a lot of armor because they're supposed to be tanky, or, you know, because when Khorne has more armor than Nurgle, I thought something was wrong, but that's just me. Anyway, that's all that has to do with the campaign stuff. Let's go into some army compositions. Alright, Strat fans, and here we are at Tier 1. So, the first thing you'll notice is that on the side of the screen here, we have these different little buffs. So, each Chaos God in the battle that's Monogod will get these certain hexes and abilities that'll start with procuring points. So, you know, you base points based on the amount of damage units take for Nurgle. For Khorne, it's kills made, I believe. For Slaanesh, it's pain caused, which is like damage. And then for Tzeentch, I think it's magic used. And then you unlock them more by more damage you take for Nurgle. You get the Curse of the Slug first, which hexes a unit to reduce speed. Fecundity, which is a chain heal, a chain regeneration. It does really good in whatever unit you pop it on, it'll start regenerating them. And then there's Glorious Rot, which causes chain direct damage to a bunch of enemies, which is really good against 25 men unit and above, which is basically all these guys. So now to get into the units. So we started with some basic units, some Marauders of Nurgle. Really good. They have the trait Mark of Nurgle, which gives them poison attacks, which are pretty good. Melee defense increase, melee attack lowered, and some hit points, bonus hit points. And then on the sides we have Nurglings, these little cute little balls of fun. Aren't they so cute, guys? Yeah, so these little demonic fun bags they are quite good for a tier 1 unit. They have magic attacks and poison attacks with a 28 attack stat, which is not great, but considering how much physical resist they pack with 20%, it does really good. And then they have the Cloud of Flies, which increases their melee defense in melee, which means they'll bump them up to at least 37 melee defense. And then they have demonic, which means they can start crumbling when their morale breaks, but their leadership is decent. They also have Vanguard deployment. I don't really use it much because they're not really good when by themselves, but they're a very good amplifying unit. And then over here we have the Marauder Horsemen of Nurgle. These ones with throwing axes. I prefer the throwing axes because they do more damage. They also have poison attacks because they all have this trait, Mark of Nurgle. They can fire while moving, and basically just Marauder Horsemen, but with a Nurgle skin. And then in the back here we have Plague Toads, which are probably the best tier 1 unit Nurgle can field, with 50 armor, increased melee attack, with the same attributes as Nurglings, but a little buffed. The weapon strength is buffed as well, with bonus for infantry and armor piercing. They also have the Cloud of Flies, just like the Nurglings, which means they have the same amount of melee defense as them. So yeah, they're very good. I usually prefer them over Nurglings, but I brought a little bit of Nurglings here just to cause some chaos, because they do a little bit more. Well, the Plague Toads take a little. Well, they don't take as long to get there as the Nurglings. I just brought them to show, but I usually you can do either or. Plague Toads and Nurglings. Nurglings do have a clear disadvantage to Plague Toads stat-wise, but they have more entities, so they're able to make up for that shortfall. So that's why I brought them both, because they're both pretty good. But usually I'd choose one or the other, just to make it easier for recruiting. And then, of course, we have Kugath and his big old chair. And all of his Nurglings in the back. He's just got so much going on there, man. And then we brought a Exalted Hero of Nurgle. Now, it's very hard to get these guys, but you can get them early on if you know the right buildings to build. So that's why I included one. Usually I'd go for him over any other hero that you can do with Nurgle, and I would purposely exclude a Plague Ridden or especially a Cultist of Nurgle, because the Cultist heroes they don't really do well in combat. They have a summon, but that's pretty much all they're really good for, summoning bigger units to fight for them. But they're not really good in combat. I usually keep them for the campaign map. Alright, so with that said, let's get into our first battle against the Empire. Alright. We're going to charge in first. I'm going to harass these guys. Alright, Kugath. Fire with those guys.
Hell for Nurgle! We bring ruin! Valiant brothers! Fresh meat! Agreed! Now is our time!
Alright, let's get the Plague Toads in there. Alright. we'll get the Nurglings in there next. Amplify those guys. Plague Toads go for them. I mean, Nurglings go for them. Alright. Kugath. Let's see what we can do for heals. Actually, let's do a Blight Boil first. Let's see. Where could I do a good Blight Boil? Oh, that's a good one. Right there. Let's do that Blight Boil. And then cast a Blight Boil, and you see it just pop, pop goes the Blight Boil. Ooh, man, that's a nice amount of kills. 101 kills for that. Let's put Slime Trail on those guys.
The Plague Weaver's fist! March and scourge!
Alright. Stream of Corruption. This is a nice little breath spell. It does a little bit of damage. Not a whole lot. Kugath himself is not very fast, because most Nurgle guys aren't very fast, but the Plague Toads are starting to punch through, so we're going to be able to go and disrupt these missiles. Let's do that.
Exalted hero of Nurgle. Nurgle's reckoning. Nurgle's command.
Alright. Alright. They've pretty much already routed due to that other thing. And then we also have this one, which is a really nice damage reduction. It increases armor. So I think it increased armor to our Marauders. Yep. Plus 30 to them. Let's send those Plague Toads into there. If we send the Plague Toads towards the missile units, it'll more than likely deal with all of them. Now it's pretty much just we're trying to just mop up the enemy units as much as we can.
Pestilent marauders! Glorious brutality!
Yeah, we pretty much got this one in the bag. We're just trying to just trying to mop it up now. Oh, here's the infested Nurglings. Let's send them into here. How fast are they? They're not that fast. Send them in here. And then we gotta wait for all the points to come up before we can use another one. So if you use this one, it spends the points. Alright. Let's do a heal. Who's my most damaged unit? Oh, these Plague Toads probably deserve it the most. Alright, and that's pretty much the whole battle. Alright, about 4 minutes. See, I'm really good with knowing how to use Nurgle. You just gotta be able to get stuff that can punch through like Plague Toads. And with having Marauders of Nurgle, the poison effect really does hamper the enemy's ability to cause damage to you, as long as you can reach them. So you gotta get stuff like Plague Toads, which are fast for a Nurgle unit at 65. to really be able to, you know, apply that poison as much as possible. The more entities you have applying poison, the more damage you'll do to the enemy, and the less they'll do to you. That's the trick for Nurgle. Alright, so let's go into a tier 2 now. Alright, and here we are to tier 2, so I have to correct myself from earlier in the video. I did do some further research, and it does appear that Nurgle, along with all the other Monogod factions, do have access to their Monogod, all of their Monogod units from the Core's Chaos roster. That includes Chosen, what are they called? The Chaos War Shrines. Of course, this is only the Monogod, meaning the undivided versions are not accessible, meaning they don't have access to like Dragon Ogres or any of those other Monogod demons and stuff, but they do have access to their own gods, demons and foot soldiers, which drastically changes how Nurgle and all the other ones play, because now they can use Warriors of Chaos units. So it's really good. So again, what we've done to get into the units, what we've done for this is I've completely changed out my main line to Chaos Warriors of Nurgle. So these guys pack a whole lot more wallop. They have a whole lot more armor, and they do still do poison attacks, as well as a lot more weapon strength and melee defense, making them all around a better front line. And then we have the Pox Riders of Nurgle. These guys are pretty much just Plague Toads buffed up with a pox, with a Plague Bearer on top of it, which buffs up their damage a little bit, increases their melee attack, their melee defense as well, and boosts up their leadership. They don't have a new ability, but they do have a lot more weapon strength and buffs. So we brought about 5 of those, and then flying over here are Rot Flies. Now these Rot Flies are pretty good. They have a lot of weapon strength with armor piercing. They have the same Cloud of Flies ability, which gives their melee defense a buff. Something they are lacking. And then to buff it up, to buff up the line, we have 2 Beasts of Nurgle. These are really good monster units that have a lot of weapon damage. And they also have the Slime Trail ability, along with Regeneration and Cloud of Flies. And then we've also gotten a Plague Ridden. I know I said Plague Riddens weren't as good as a hero of Nurgle, but they do complement well. So the Plague Ridden with the Lore of Death complements Kugath a lot because it's another spell lore. He has 80 armor, pretty good weapon strength. You know, the Lore of Death is pretty good as well, with his Cloud of Flies ability. Gives him more melee defense. And of course, we have our hero of Nurgle on a steed now. And then Kugath rounded out. Alrighty, so let's get into this battle against the orcs. Alright, we're going to charge straight up the hill towards them. The Rot Flies are going to target some things in the back. Plague Toads are going to target things on the sides. We also got to take the Beast of Nurgle up there. Kugath himself is going to start blasting some things. Let's go get those guys. Plague Toads. Go attack those.
We are the fall! The world will burn! Warriors of Nurgle! Kugath craves cadavers!
Okay.
They die!
Let's get a Blight Boil going. Let's see now, what should we do it on? We pretty much got them all tied down. Let's do it on this one here. I'll do a hefty chunk. Let's get this guy in, going after the war boss. Plague Ridden will come up. You also have Vocus of Vigilance, which is a good buff to have. And then we'll have the Beast of Nurgles go up here. keep on attacking the goblin archers. We can't allow them to come back. Yeah, get out of there. Rotflies, get out of there. You need to attack the archers. Don't be bogged down by spears. That would be a problem if you got bogged down by spears.
Warriors of Nurgle!
Okay. Alright, we gotta get them out of that combat. And they gotta go attack those goblin archers and get them into combat. Alright. Let's do a spirit leech on this fella. Yeah, they're pretty much just dragging our rot flies here down, and we're gonna lose that unit, I feel. Oh no, we're not. Okay. Alright, plague toads here pretty much routed them. Take care of that guy, that war boss. And we'll do... send him. Alright. Engage. And there he goes down. Big old morale penalty to them. Gonna be able to chase him down, and there we go. 4 minutes. Didn't even get a chance to pop my buff. Alrighty, so again, reiterating, using plague toads and these guys, pox riders, really good. The rot flies don't do so hot, but they do really good against backline, so it's really good at eliminating the enemy. Like at this point in tier 2, a lot of enemies will have really superior backlines to you. And Nurgle doesn't have any missiles, so you need something to eliminate them, and rotflies are that answer. Because they're pretty fast for a Nurgle unit at 90, so they can do really a lot of damage. They can get up to those enemy missiles, do a lot of damage, smack them around, and possibly even, you know, cause them to rout. And just getting them out of the fight gives you, like as you saw, a big advantage. So that concludes a tier 2. Let's go on to a tier 3. And here we are finally with a tier 3. So a lot of nice juicy stuff here for Nurgle. So in the front we of course have some Chaos Chosen of Nurgle. So the Chosen of Nurgle, just insane. 120 armor with a 50% shield, 60% block shield actually. 96 leadership, 49 melee attack with poison, 75 melee defense, and 48 weapon strength. These guys can hold a line better than anything. Better than your better than your mother holding a line in the line at Arby's. They're just so good. And I bring 6 of them just for a nice melee front line. In the back we have Exalted Plague Bearers of Nurgle. These guys are really good compared to the other Plague Bearers because they have a magical ammunition that is armor piercing and poison damage, as well as their basic, you know, a melee attack as well. They have Cloud of Flies with physical resistance plus 20 as well because they're Nurgle. And then buffing them up, we have Chaos War Shrines of Nurgle, which have that insane heal, the Giver of Abundant Glory, which gives them more heals per second. And then of course they have a Mark of Nurgle as well, so they're also pretty good in a fight. And then over on the sides we have 2 Great Unclean Ones, which are Nurgle's greater demons. These guys are really big fat bastards that do so much damage. And they have the Miasma Pestilence, they have Stream of Corruption, which is one of their 2 bound spells they have. Their Siege Attacker, Cloud of Flies. They have a big whopping physical resist. They're really, really good. Big beefy boys. I have that one, and I have the Regiment of Renown version, which gives us a special Defiling Deluge special ability as well. And then also we have the Chaos Soul Grinders of Nurgle, which these guys are insane as well. They have an insane missile attack with a whole lot more ammunition, insane weapon strength, and they're poison damage on both of them. So whatever target you focus with them, they're going to be poisoned down really heavily, and they're not going to really have a chance to get back up. And then we do have Plague Drones of Nurgle. These guys, I don't use them that much, but if I were to, I would replace my Exalted Plague Bearers with them. I either use one of the two because both of them have a nice melee, a nice missile attack. The Plague Drones have the same nice missile attack. It's a little better with a little more ammunition. But there's less entities than the Exalted Plague Bearers, so they do less damage overall. They are really good though, so you can really do either or. That's why I brought them. And then our Plague Ridden is now on a Rotfly as well, and our Exalted Hero of Nurgle is on a Chaos Chariot, and of course we have Klugath in all his glory, sitting in the back on his big rocking chair. Alright, so let's go into this battle against the Lizardmen on our home turf in Nurgle's realm. Alrighty. So, to face the Lizardmen, we're just going to march straight forward. I think our Soul Grinders are already firing at them and doing an insane amount of damage. Let's fire at the Skink cohorts. And we'll march these guys up as well. Need to keep these with the front line. Alright. Soul Grinders will just take out the enemy from afar. Fire at the Croc Scores. Let's do a Blight Boil on those guys. Plague Bearers. Fire on these guys. Your job is not to go there, but to rather attack with your missile. Let's do Stream of Corruption. Let's see, is this guy attacking? No, you gotta get in there. Go attack. Do Stream of Corruption for him. And then he'll do his Deluge, as well as Stream of Corruption. There we go. I'm doing a lot of damage to them now. Even though our yeah, now we can send our guys in. So the more enemies we kill, the better. The better heals we'll get, and our guys are healing. Let's take care of them. All right. Yeah, these Soul Grinders have done God's work. All right.
Exalted Hero of Nurgle. Chosen of Nurgle! gathering, make them wither! Virulent warfare!
Alright, we're about to kill this Saurus Old Blood here. Let's kill him. Alright, get the Spirit Leech on him. Let's kill him. There we go, he's gone. He is gone. Go chase those guys.
Chosen of Nurgle! Spreading ruination!
There goes the Plague Bearers going against those.
We are the foul!
Yeah, let's go just reinforce this side. Ah, there we go. Victory. The dinosaurs couldn't stand up to the might of Nurgle. Alrighty. That was a good battle. Even though we did take a little bit of casualties on the Chosen line, they still held, and they still have a whole lot of health, and they're regenerating as well, due to the War Shrine, which now has, over that whole time, has intensity of 13, which, you know, it's not a whole lot, but the more kills, you know, each entity death nearby it increases its effect. Alright, so that concludes these army compositions. Let's wrap this thing up now, guys.
Lord of Disease.
Lord of Disease. Yes, alright. So, that concludes my Nurgle guide, ladies and gentlemen. So I hope that you guys enjoyed, and that you're ready to spread disease and plague in the name of the All-Father, the great-grandfather Nurgle, who loves you dearly and just wants to hold you. He just wants a hug. Grandfather Nurgle just wants a hug. Anyway, I do appreciate you guys sticking around, and remember, if you like what I do here, just remember to like that subscribe button, push that like button, smash that subscribe button, and you know, comment on my video, tell me how I'm doing, and any suggestions, you know, fling them my way, because, you know, once I get through all these race guides, I'm going to be taking suggestions for what faction guide to go through next, because there's a whole lot of them to cover, guys, and you know, I want to cover all of them in a timely manner, and I want to keep, you know, this channel alive. And if there's new games you guys want me to cover, feel free to shout out, because I am going to start doing Friday or Saturday gaming vids again, just because I want to put another third video out, even though with how crazy life is right now, it's really hard for me to get time to put a third video out, but I'm going to try to do it for you guys, because I want to put more content out for y'all, because I love y'all, and, you know, much support to you guys. And, you know, we're up to 130 subscribers now. 130 loyal Strat fans have pledged themselves to me, and I couldn't be more thankful. So here's out to you guys. I appreciate you, and keep it strategic. Colonel out.